The rain was relentless, turning the quiet country road into a muddy, treacherous river. It was November 3rd, and the storm had been raging all day. Mark Reynolds, a 35-year-old single dad, held the steering wheel of his old pickup truck tightly. The engine groaned, fighting its way through the floodwater. Life wasn't easy for Mark. He worked long hours as a mechanic for a massive company, Apex Auto Group, just to make ends meet for himself and his 9-year-old son, Jake. His wife, Emily, had left them 3 years ago, chasing a city life that didn't include what she called small-town drudgery. Mark was exhausted after a 12-hour shift, his hands aching from a full day of repairs. All he wanted was to get home to Jake, who was probably waiting with a new drawing of a spaceship or a dinosaur. Jake's vibrant imagination was the brightest spot in Mark's life. Their small house, with its peeling paint and a roof that needed fixing, was their sanctuary, a place filled with memories and hope. As the wind howled, his headlights cut through the darkness and landed on a sleek silver Mercedes stranded on the side of the road. Its hazard lights pulsed weakly against the storm. A woman stood beside it, completely soaked, trying in vain to shield herself from the downpour. Mark didn't think twice. He knew what it felt like to be stranded and helpless. He pulled over, grabbed his toolkit and a flashlight, and stepped out into the gale. "Hey, you all right?" he yelled over the thunder. The woman looked up, her elegant features illuminated by his flashlight. She was in her early 40s, her expensive clothes ruined by the mud and rain. "My car. It just stopped," she said, her voice a mix of fear and frustration. "The tire blew out, and now the engine's dead. There's no signal out here." Mark took a quick look. The tire was shredded, and water had likely shorted the engine. "This isn't getting fixed tonight," he said gently. "The tow trucks won't come out in this weather. My place is just up the road. I can give you a lift, get you somewhere warm and dry, and we can call for help when the storm passes." She looked at him with wary eyes, clutching her purse tightly. But there was an honesty in Mark's gaze that made her lower her guard. "All right. Thank you. I'm Sophia." "Mark," he replied, helping her with her bags and ushering her into his truck. The truck's cab smelled of coffee and motor oil, a world away from the leather-scented luxury she was used to. As they drove, Sophia stared out at the storm, her mind racing. She wasn't just any stranded motorist. She was Sophia, the CEO of Apex Auto Group, the very company Mark worked for. She was on a secret inspection tour, and now a twist of fate had left her stranded at the mercy of one of her own employees. "You from around here?" Mark asked, noticing her shivering. "Don't see many fancy cars like that on these roads." Sophia gave a vague answer. "Just passing through for work. I'm a city girl mostly." She wasn't ready to reveal her identity. When they arrived at Mark's house, Jake came rushing out. "Dad, you're home! Who's that lady?" Mark scooped him up. "This is Sophia, buddy. Her car broke down." Jake beamed at her. "Hi, do you like drawings? I made one of a T-Rex with laser eyes." Sophia couldn't help but smile. The boy's pure, unbridled joy was infectious. "I'd love to see it," she said. Inside, the house was cozy and filled with love. Toys were scattered about, and Jake's colorful artwork covered the walls. Mark made them soup and coffee while Sophia took a moment to freshen up. Looking at her reflection, stripped of her usual power suit and makeup, she felt strangely vulnerable. Back in the living room, Jake proudly presented his masterpiece. "See? The lasers go pew-pew," she laughed, a genuine, heartfelt laugh. For the first time in a long time, she felt a real connection. As they ate, Mark shared stories about his work, the simple satisfaction of fixing things with his own hands. Sophia listened, captivated. Her life of board meetings and high-stakes deals suddenly felt incredibly lonely. When a lightning strike caused the power to go out, Mark lit candles and pulled out a Monopoly board. "Jake's a shark at this," he warned. They played for hours, and the sound of their laughter filled the small house. Sophia, the billionaire CEO, was being bankrupted by a 9-year-old, and she was having the time of her life. Later, Mark set up the couch for her with blankets. "The guest room is Jake's, but this is pretty comfy," he said with a warm smile. "Thank you, Mark, truly," she said, her voice soft with gratitude. As she lay on the couch, Sophia thought about the incredible twist of fate. This kind, hard-working man, an employee in her vast empire, had shown her more genuine kindness than she'd experienced in years. Her phone signal had returned, but she didn't call her assistant. Not yet. The next morning, the sun was out. Mark was already outside, having towed her car to the driveway. With skilled hands, he'd patched the tire and was drying out the engine. "This should get you to the next town," he told her. "A mechanic there can do a proper fix." Sophia watched him, a newfound admiration blooming within her. Jake ran out and gave her another drawing. "Come back sometime," he said, giving her an impulsive hug. "I will, Jake," she promised. She handed Mark her business card. "If you ever need anything." He just smiled and pocketed it. "Drive safe." As Sophia drove away back towards her world of glass towers and corporate power, she couldn't shake the feeling that this chance encounter had changed something inside her. From her phone, she accessed the company database and found Mark Reynolds. 5 years of employment, stellar reviews, a dedicated single father whose requests for a more flexible schedule had been denied by bureaucratic red tape. She knew what she had to do. She would help him, anonymously. A raise, a better schedule, small changes she could make with the flick of a pen. It was the least she could do to repay the kindness that had reminded her what it meant to be human. But as she made the arrangements, Sophia had a feeling this wasn't the end of their story.
Fate, it seemed, had more in store for them, and their paths were destined to cross again, leading to something much deeper than either of them could have ever imagined.
Thanks for watching our story today. We hope it brought a little warmth to your heart. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. We'll see you soon. Weeks blurred into a routine for Mark after the storm. The memory of Sophia lingered like a half-forgotten dream, her elegant poise in his humble home, the way Jake's laughter had softened her edges. He shook it off, focusing on the daily grind. Work at the garage picked up post-storm, with flooded engines and debris-damaged vehicles keeping him busy. His boss, a gruff man named Hank, grumbled about corporate mandates from Apex Auto Group, but Mark tuned it out. He was just grateful for the paycheck that covered Jake's school supplies and the occasional pizza night. One afternoon, as Mark wiped grease from his hands, Hank called him into the office. "Reynolds, got some news from upstairs. Your request for flex hours, approved. Starting next week, you can shift to mornings, pick up the kid earlier." Mark blinked, stunned. He'd submitted that request months ago, only to be denied twice. "Really? What changed?" Hank shrugged. "Beats me. Some anonymous directive. And hey, payroll says you're getting a bump, 10%. Don't question it, just take it." Mark left the office dazed, a weight lifting from his shoulders. For the first time in years, he could attend Jake's soccer practices without begging for time off. That evening, as he helped Jake with homework, the boy chattered about school. "Dad, remember Sophia? I drew her a picture. Think she'll come back?" Mark ruffled his hair. "Maybe, bud. Stranger things have happened." Meanwhile, in the gleaming Apex headquarters in the city, Sophia paced her corner office. The view of the skyline was impressive, but it felt cold compared to Mark's cozy living room. She'd orchestrated the changes discreetly, using her influence to bypass layers of management. It wasn't charity, it was justice. Scrolling through employee files, she learned more about Mark. Widowed? No. Divorced. Emily had left abruptly, leaving him to raise Jake alone. Performance reviews praised his dedication, but notes mentioned burnout risks. Sophia found herself inventing reasons to visit the region. "Branch inspections," she told her team. Dressed in a sharp suit, she arrived at Mark's garage unannounced. Hank fumbled through greetings, but Sophia's eyes scanned for Mark. There he was, under a hood, focused and efficient. When he straightened, wiping his brow, recognition dawned. "Sophia? From the storm?" She smiled, extending a hand. "Yes, I'm here on business, regional manager for Apex." The lie slipped out easily, but guilt gnawed at her. Mark shook her hand, surprised. "Small world. Glad you're okay. Car running fine?" "Like new, thanks to you." She lingered, observing operations. Over coffee in the break room, they chatted. Mark shared garage anecdotes. Sophia asked about Jake. It felt natural, like continuing that stormy night. As she left, Mark watched her go, puzzled by the coincidence. Back home, he pulled out her business card. Plain, no title. A quick web search on his phone yielded nothing specific. Shrugging, he tucked it away. Sophia's visits became semi-regular. Each time she donned her manager persona, but conversations veered personal. She learned about Mark's dreams, opening his own shop someday, teaching Jake the trade. In return, she shared sanitized stories of her high-pressure job, omitting the CEO part. One evening after a visit, Sophia sat in her penthouse, glass of wine in hand. Why was she doing this? Attraction? Guilt? Or something deeper? A craving for authenticity in her scripted life. Her ex-husband had been a fellow executive. Their marriage a merger more than a bond. No kids, career first. Now at 42, she wondered what she'd missed. At the garage, changes continued. New tools arrived, courtesy of corporate upgrades. Hank credited efficiency drives, but Mark suspected Sophia's hand. During her next visit, he confronted her lightly. "These improvements? You're doing?" She feigned innocence. "Just following orders." Their banter grew flirtatious, subtle sparks flying amid shop talk. Jake even met her again when she happened by during a school pickup. The boy adored her, showing off his latest inventions. But secrets have a shelf life. One day, a company newsletter arrived at the garage, featuring Sophia's photo, CEO Sophia Vance, announcing record profits. Mark stared, pieces clicking. The stranded woman, the manager, was his ultimate boss. Betrayal hit hard. He felt foolish, manipulated. That night, he brooded over dinner, Jake sensing the mood. "Dad, you okay?" "Yeah, just work stuff." The next inspection, Mark avoided her. When she approached, he was curt. "Ms. Vance, or should I say, CEO?" Sophia's face paled. "Mark, I can explain." "Save it. You lied, played house while holding all the cards." He walked away, pride stinging. Sophia left, heartbroken. Back in her office, she replayed the moment. She hadn't meant harm. She'd wanted connection without power dynamics. But she'd shattered trust. Weeks passed in silence. Mark threw himself into work, the flex hours a bittersweet reminder. Sophia buried herself in deals, but emptiness gnawed. One rainy night, echoing the storm, she drove back to that road. Stopping at Mark's house, she knocked, soaked once more. He opened the door, surprise flickering. "Sophia? I need to talk." Jake peeked out. "Sophia?" He hugged her legs, breaking the ice. Inside, over coffee, she poured out the truth. "That night you saw me, not the title. It was freeing. I helped because you deserved it, not pity." Mark listened, anger softening. "I felt used, like my life was a game. It wasn't. You and Jake, you're real. I envy that." A tentative truce formed. They talked late, sharing pasts, her lonely rise, his painful divorce. As rain pattered, something shifted. Forgiveness, perhaps the start of more. With the confrontation behind them, Mark and Sophia navigated an uneasy new normal. Mark agreed to hear her out, but trust rebuilt slowly, like mending a cracked engine block. Sophia respected his space, limiting contact to professional channels at first. But Jake's innocent enthusiasm bridged the gap. The boy asked about her constantly, drawing pictures of Sophia the Storm Lady. One weekend, Sophia texted Mark, her number from the card. Jake mentioned a school fair. Mind if I come? No pressure. Mark hesitated, then replied, sure, he'd love it. The fair was a whirlwind of cotton candy, games, and homemade crafts. Sophia arrived in jeans and a sweater, blending in. Jake spotted her immediately, dragging her to his booth where he sold robot drawings. Look, I made one for you. She beamed, buying the lot. Mark watched, a smile tugging his lips. Over funnel cakes they talked. Really talked. Sophia shared her childhood in a strict family, pushed toward success. Mark opened about Emily's departure, the nights he'd cried alone while Jake slept. As the sun set, fireworks lit the sky. Jake oohed and ah-ed sandwiched between them. It felt like family, a dangerous thought for both. Sophia's influence at Apex grew more overt. She launched pilot programs for employee wellness, inspired by Mark's story. Anonymous no more, she credited field insights in memos. Mark noticed improvements, better benefits, family leave. Grateful but wary, he sent a thank you email. Their meetings evolved. Coffee turned to dinners, simple picnics with Jake, then quiet evenings when he was at sleepovers. Sophia cooked Italian, surprising Mark with her skills. Boardrooms don't teach this, she joked. Attraction simmered. A brush of hands, lingering gazes. One night, after Jake's bedtime story, they sat on the porch. Stars twinkled overhead. Mark, I don't want to complicate things. You already have, he said softly, leaning in. Their first kiss was tentative, electric, like the storm that started it all. But complications arose, rumors at the garage. CEO cozying up to a mechanic? Hank pulled Mark aside. Be careful, son. Power imbalance. Mark nodded, doubts creeping. Sophia faced board scrutiny. Her frequent field visits raised eyebrows. A rival executive, jealous of her success, dug into her activities. One evening, over wine at her city apartment, her first invitation there, Sophia confessed fears. My position. It could hurt you. Mark held her. We'll figure it out. Jake adapted seamlessly, calling her Aunt Soph at first, then just Sophia. He thrived with the extra attention, grades improving, confidence soaring. A crisis tested them. Jake fell ill, high fever, hospital rush. Mark panicked, alone in the ER. Sophia arrived unbidden, having driven through traffic. She held his hand as doctors diagnosed pneumonia, treatable but scary. In the waiting room, tears flowed. Thank you for being here, Mark whispered. Always. Jake recovered, the ordeal bonding them deeper. Sophia proposed changes, scaling back visits to avoid gossip, but committing privately. Months passed. Apex announced the Single Parent Support Initiative, funded by Sophia. At the launch event, she spoke passionately, inspired by real stories, like those of our dedicated employees. Mark attended with Jake standing in the crowd. Their eyes met across the room, a silent vow. But shadows loomed. The rival executive leaked concerns to the press, CEO fraternizing with staff. Headlines screamed conflict of interest. Sophia faced a board inquiry. Mark worried for her career, his job. In a tense meeting, she defended, "Personal life is personal. My decisions benefit the company." Support poured in from employees, including Mark's garage. The board backed down, but damage lingered. Through it, their bond strengthened. Love bloomed quietly, resilient like Mark's old truck. The scandal's fallout was tough. Sophia's reputation was on the line, and the stress was immense. Through it all, Mark was her rock, even from a distance. Their late-night calls were a lifeline, a promise that they would get through this together. But just as they started to find their footing, Mark's ex-wife, Emily, reappeared, demanding visitation rights for their son Jake. This ignited a draining legal battle that threatened to consume Mark's savings and his spirit. Sophia, ever loyal, offered her support, insisting, "This is our fight." She even testified anonymously, praising Mark as a father. Thankfully, the court ruled in their favor. To celebrate, they escaped to a quiet cabin, just the three of them. It was there, surrounded by nature, that their bond deepened, and they started to truly imagine a shared future. It wasn't an easy road, but their love proved strong enough to overcome every obstacle. What do you think happens next? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. The channel Stories We Don't Tell. Wedding day arrived, simple ceremony in a garden, friends and family. Jake beamed as they exchanged vows. "I do," echoed with promise. Honeymoon in Hawaii, Jake with grandparents. Blissful days of sun, sea, love. Back, they blended lives. Sophia kept CEO role, but with boundaries. Mark opened a small shop branch, supported by Apex. Jake flourished, family complete. Years later, reflecting on the storm, they knew fate's gift. Created by Stories We Don't Tell that brings stories to life.